What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about the average altcoin today. We're going to talk about altcoins in general using the others chart. Okay, using this chart here, we're going to determine what the average coin will do over the coming days, over the coming weeks, what we can expect this next move to look like, and the days preceding it. So if that sounds good to you, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, my friends. Let's get into it. Here we go. So this chart, in case anybody's confused, others, you type it in on TradingView here, others. It's the crypto total market cap excluding the top 10. Essentially, it's your altcoin market chart. Okay, it's like the index for the altcoins. This doesn't mean that every coin, if this moves up 10%, that doesn't mean every coin moves up 10%, but it means the average coin moves up 10%. If it moves down 10%, that doesn't mean every coin moves down 10%, but the average coin moves down, something around that, right? So it gives us a good kind of metric to weigh our altcoin bags against, right? So looking at this here, my thoughts would be, right, if this were a low and something to build from and go higher, we would have done so already. And I think that is a low. I think it is something to build from and go higher. I just mean immediately, right? We didn't do it yet. We've continued to bleed a little bit. I suspect we do go a little bit lower. We see some kind of drop in the form of a higher low, maybe a double bottom, or even a slightly lower low. Any and all of that could happen. So let's make sense out of all those kind of options here, all right? So option one, we get a higher low, which perhaps we already have, but I don't think we do. But let's just see low to high here. Yeah, if this were to be a higher low, my thoughts would be that we do pull back to the golden ratio. A lot of cryptos recently have been finding support on their 0.5. That's this area here. The golden ratio is the 618 to the 69 zone there. The golden ratio technically is just the 618, but oftentimes you do go a little bit through it. That's why I gave it the zone, the 618 to the 69. It's actually a very acceptable zone, a doable zone. Oftentimes you do even hit that 6.9 area. But all I'm saying here, looking at the fibs, rejecting the 236, now you're rejecting the 382 potentially. That does get you set up, in my opinion, to go down to that next fib level, which would be the golden ratio zone. So if we're expecting that, that would give you a higher low from the current price, which at the time of making this, you know, others is at about 600 or 263 billion. That would call for the average coin to drop another 7% to 8.5%, 9% probably over the next 24 hours to 48 hours, something to start this week off. I would suspect by the end of the week we're moving back up, but I think over the coming days, maybe just today even, we move down a little bit. So 7 to 9% is the move that I would expect most. Potentially down to 11, even down to 13, 14%. Could be what we see across the board. And if we were to see a double bottom, that would lead us to about a 16, 17% move. Lower lows, the lowest low that I would see, or not the lowest low, but the next target for a lower low that I would see us going to, I'm sorry, I can't talk, would be 23% to 31%. So 23 to 31 if we were to go lower. 17% if we saw a double bottom, and likely we see something, most likely I think we would see something that's about 6 to 9%, 7 to 9% to the downside before we start to move up again, right? So if your coin, your average coin, right, if others moves down 6 to 8% and your coin drops 20% or 30%, you might have a very volatile asset. That doesn't mean you have an underperformer. It just might mean that it's very volatile. Maybe it just pumped up a lot, so now it's going to drop more than the average coin, right? Where the average coin has been a little bit more tame, so maybe they have a more tame drop. I don't know, but I'm assuming the average coin drops a little bit, right? Is all this is saying. And to be fair, to be completely fair, a 6 to 7 or a 7 to a 9% drop makes a lot of sense, because I think Bitcoin is going to drop about 3 to 4%. 6 to 9%, that's about what you would expect to see if Bitcoin drops 3 to 4%, right? If Bitcoin drops 3 to 4%, you would expect the altcoins to drop 4 to 8%. And the fact that we have a 7 to 9% expected drop, that makes sense in my opinion. So after this drop, I do expect that that's our low of this overall move down. That's our low there. This would be a higher low of which we would build off of and then start forming higher highs. I think we'll go higher. So if that is accurate, if we do find support here and we do build higher, what we're looking for is the next move up. Okay, what will the next move up be? When does it start? When does it end? And these are all good questions, and they might not be the easiest to answer, but let's try. So there's different phases of this bull cycle so far. If you see here, right? The cycle ended last cycle of 2021. That was the high. Potentially it ended in May, whatever, but tomato, wherever it ended, the bear market started here, okay? And since then, since the bear market ended, it was this low here. We've had some moves up. I don't know if I want to count this. I suppose if that was the low, we're going to count this as the bull market beginning, potentially, sure. It can begin there. Low to high here, low to high there, okay? Then you consolidated. You broke out here. This was your next breakout move, right? Where you consolidated some more. You slowly trickled up. I don't know. I feel like you had this kind of consolidation phase here. How would I draw that move? I feel most comfortable drawing it here, so I'm going to do that. And then from this low maybe to this high, that was another move in its own. And then you consolidated some more, and then from that breakout point, from that low to that high, you made that move there. I have a purpose, I promise you. This was your next move there. So these, if you can't tell, aside from all the consolidation phases, these are your bull market moves, right? This is what it looks like. So from your low, if you were to start this week, you know, your bull market move would take you up, at least from the beginning move, that take you back up to where we've seen the average altcoin top off this cycle so far, right? Anything over here that's in between this, that's a little bit smaller, right? A little bit on the small side here, right? Pretty average moves there. Something like that might be something that we could consider, and we'll look at that. But then this move is actually very comparable. I'm just going to leave that right there. This move here was the biggest move that we saw so far. This move was the biggest move we've seen so far in the cycle, and it was the most recent move. Okay, I want to put these lines back. We're going to go back in time. Okay, watch where the big lines go. That big line went there. The small line went there, small line went there, small line went there, and then the big line went there. Okay, so this, again, this is kind of hard to discern. Is it two small lines? Should I have drawn just one whole big line like this? I don't know. But if you look at this as one move, and I have a hard time, I don't know, is this one move and then you consolidated for 3 weeks and then you moved up? I feel like that's more appropriate. But if you did look at it as one move overall and then you consolidated and you move up again, it would look like the biggest moves that we've seen have kind of happened at the end of the cycle, right? If not, you've got these two moves here, and that's fine. But the bigger moves definitely have happened. The most two recent moves have been the bigger moves of the cycle. If we saw something in that kind of trend, potentially this next move could be even bigger than what our most recent move was, right? This move here takes us to about where our all-time highs are right now for the cycle. Not our all-time highs, but where the cycle highs are. This move here, what we just saw, would take us basically up to about 514 billion, which from the current read would make the average altcoin grow about 100%, but I think we'd go higher than that, right? If we see that high, from a high to a low, I would expect that we continue to grow. We probably wouldn't stop until about 700 billion, to be completely fair. And that would be about a 114% growth. And probably, or sorry, 170% growth. And we probably even go beyond that. But again, what I'm expecting is a bigger move out of this move here. I do want to take these little moves because, again, we've got three moves that are basically the exact same size. I just want to see when we start going here. Would it be from here? Do those go to any? This move here, right? Because that move is basically the same exact size as this move here, as this move here. All three of them, they're very similar. I'm trying to draw this one. Let's see. Pull it over. There we go. You can see all three of them land right in the golden ratio. So the most common move that we've seen so far, at least 3 times we've had moves that are very similar in pitch and in length. They all point to the same golden ratio zone. So I'm assuming, we're on a weekly basis here, I'm assuming that this month of February, the average altcoin would at least move up to this golden ratio zone, right? So we would have, from the current price, at least across the board for the month of February, we would see the average altcoin pump anything from 30 to 37%, okay, at least on average, okay. And normally, and the reason why I'm saying that is because these moves, they don't just take 1 week or 2 weeks to form. This one took like 5 weeks. This one here took about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. This one here took about 5 weeks as well. So 5 weeks from now, that would actually put us in March. Okay, so calling for something like this in reference to these moves to end in February, that's actually, I would say, more bullish than what we've seen so far this cycle. And we could see that. We've seen a big drop, right? Something else that all of these moves here, I'm going to bring it all back. Something else that all of these little moves are missing that this move has, that these moves don't, is these moves had no big drop, right? That was a pretty big correction relative to this consolidation phase here, relative to this here. This one had a little bit more of a drop, sure, but this seems still more intense than what we experienced back here, right? So I would say that the recovery to this, if we are to recover, and I think we will, it stands to reason that it could be faster. Even still, getting above the golden ratio by the end of this month, I think is a bit of a stretch for me. It's not impossible. It's not hard to believe, but I don't see it happening. So prices that are higher than that would be saved for March. In other words, if you have a coin right now, what I'm expecting the average altcoin to do would be about a 30% to 36% move. At the most, maybe a 57% move by the end of February. And then I suspect that this momentum continues into March. We probably see something that's anywhere from about 167% move overall from the current price, which is at about a $264 billion market cap, 167 as a minimum, and then potentially a 450, let's say, as a maximum. Does that sound right? I don't know. That's the top of your secondary golden ratio zone, or secondary extension zone. Let's see. High to low here. Yeah, I suppose that's possible. I suppose that is maybe even higher, right? The average coin could see a 6x. We really would be beginning the altcoin rally. But there's a lot of resistance that stops you. 1 trillion will be a very psychological level to hold back. I think I like this more, the 1272 to the 1414 here. It lines up with these deeper extensions in the fibs here as well. I think the 1618 is the minimum target. So let's stick with this. Let's be very conclusive here, okay? From the current price of the average altcoin on this, the 10th of February, we have about we got like 20 hours left in the day, 19 hours left in the day, something like that. 19 hours, 20 minutes left in the day specifically. On this day of February 10th, the average coin I think will grow at least 170%. At most, I'm thinking 340%, 170 to 340. That's nice. This is what I expect when it comes to full maturity of the move. I would expect that we see this happen in March. Okay, we're on our way. We're up 30% to 60, 70, 80% from here by the end of February, sure. But 170% to 330% by the end of March is what I'm thinking. Okay, does that make sense? So that would mean an average of what? That's like a 1.7x. A 2.7x, my bad. 2.7x to about a 4.2x. That's not bad across the board, you guys. In what would be essentially 6 months' time, or 6 weeks' time. Why can't I talk tonight? Why am I stumbling over all my words? I'm sober, man. I had one shot at the Super Bowl party, but that was like hours ago. And I can handle my alcohol too, so I don't know what that's about. But anyways, that's my thoughts. I think it does that. Let's finish this up with where I think the cycle is going to end for the average altcoin, and we can just go for some cycle ending predictions. This next part here, what I like about doing this is that it really gives us a good idea that if you're analyzing a coin and you can see it growing more than what number we're about to generate, then you've got something that's a outperformer. It's an overperformer, an outperformer of the average coin in the markets. If your expectation would be something that's growing less than what the number is that we're about to decide, that we're about to come across, if your coin, if you can't see it growing more than the number that we're about to say, then maybe you should rethink and get into a different project. Not my advice, not financial advice, not financial advisor, just my opinion. Let's get into this, okay? Hold on. Okay. So, last cycle, others from a high to a low went all the way up to its 1618. I theorize that this cycle we will go to our 2272, not based on this fib, but just based off of this high to low here, we'll go to the 2272. That's my theory. But the 1618 is what we did last cycle. So let's just run with that for now. High to low here. If this was to go to the 1618 and others, that was it for the whole cycle. That would imply then that the average altcoin for the rest of the crypto bull cycle only sees a 6x. That's the average altcoin. So if you have a coin that does better than a 6x, you're winning. I don't know about you guys, but I'm expecting that the crypto bull market ends sometime in late 2025, October, November. A 6x in that amount of time just seems pathetic. It seems pessimistic. It does not seem realistic to me, at least for the average altcoin in crypto. For Bitcoin, sure, okay, I could see that, right? But for altcoins, no, I'm not so much. So I would think, again, that we go to the 2272. That's my perspective. You look at the 1618, you break above there, the next target technically would be the 1886. That gives us a 10 to a 13x at a minimum, and I like that. I actually like that as a good minimum, 10 to 13x. Actually, this would be a 11. No, that's about a 10x, 10 and a half x to about a 13x. As a good minimum. But truthfully, I think that we're going to see the 2272 being achieved. Every single cycle except for last cycle, Bitcoin topped off at its 2272. We don't have enough history to back that with others, but being that others stopped at its 1618, just like Bitcoin did, I'm assuming that if Bitcoin hits its 2272, others might as well. Being at a $263 billion market cap now, this would be worth about $6 trillion. And in fact, with the 2272, you do oftentimes go just above it. $6 trillion is where I think you'll go, if not higher, man, if not higher. But that would give the average coin, at least from now, the 10th of February, with about, what is that, 18 hours and 20 minutes, 19 hours, 20 minutes left, something like that. At $262 billion, $263 billion right now, I could see the average coin growing about 2,122%. That is a 22.22x, my friends. So that's $1,000 turns into 22K. That is, you put $3,000 in, you don't even have to look. You just blindfold yourself, throw a dart at a board with a bunch of cryptos thrown at it, like dumb darts. Shout out to dumb darts on that note. You do something like that. Odds are, if you just wait for the next 8 months, you're probably gonna land. I mean, if you put $3,000 in something times 22x, you're making the average person's salary. Not financial advice, not the average, or not financial advice, not your financial advisor, but if you think of it in that kind of light, crypto right now, and I don't mean to make it sound like this, but I do at the same time, because it essentially is exactly what I'm about to say, is that crypto is so easy right now. You could know nothing about it. You could know nothing about the average project. If you choose something that's outside the top 10 but within the top 100 coins, and it's not a meme coin, right? It's not just some brand new coin that got in there, but it's at least been in the top 100 or gotten in and gotten out. It's got some history to it. It's not just a meme coin or a brand new coin. The average one of those coins will probably see over 20x. If you have $3,000, that would be $60,000, and I'm pretty sure the average median pay in America for an individual is like it's something between 50 and 60. So if you're making 60 grand, all I'm trying to say is to make the average person's salary in America, all you need is $3,000, and $3,000 is not a small amount of money, right? I don't care if you have $1 million, I don't care if you have $100. $3,000 is not a small amount of money. It's not any money that anybody would want to just willingly give away or piss away, right? But it is attainable to have, and maybe not all of us have $3,000 on hand at this moment in time, but if you do, this should be very encouraging to just look at this kind of aspect and see that $3,000 is all it would take right now to quote unquote safely make the average person's salary. Let alone if you have more than that invested, let alone if you're spread out, let alone if you hold a crypto that does more than what the average coin does, right? This says 22.22x. There's coins that we talk about on this channel all the time that the minimum targets are 30x, 40x, 50x, more than that, right? We've got 100x potential coins, right? What if your coin does more than that? The potential is just there, man. The potential is there. And I think it's going to be a very phenomenal cycle. Everybody is calling for the crypto alt season to not begin, to not happen. It's never going to come. We're right on the precipice of it happening, you guys. You look at this thing, you look at where we are in this fib ratio here. We are above the golden ratio. We just tipped the golden ratio, literally, the 618, right? That's the golden ratio. We just tipped it for support, found support, immaculate support. We're about ready. We're going to rip. It's going to be phenomenal. And I really do think that by the end of March, by the end of February, I think we'll begin this next move up. But by the end of March, I think we'll see something that is closer to probably about a 3 to a 4x for the average coin, at least from the current price, right? Certainly at least like a 2.7x. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.